Hello and welcome everybody to our first edition or first episode of Zentalk. Zentalk is going to be a discussion about all things Zentek and what we're working on. This is the latest addition to our social media strategy, enhancing our social media platform. We've already begun to increase and enhance our presence on LinkedIn and X. And now we're going to be creating content about what we're up to, the activities that we're working on at Zentek, from thought leadership pieces, product development, and our strategy moving forward. So thank you for joining today, and we look forward to bringing you a whole series of content-related items in the near future. Today with me, I have our head of business development, Ryan Shacklock, and we are going to discuss ZenGUARD and our international expansion plans. Welcome, Ryan.
Happy to be here, Greg.
So, given the acute focus that the company's had on ZenGUARD as of late, we have made tremendous strides towards getting ZenGUARD for HVAC filters into the marketplace. And I wanted to have a discussion about that today. I think it's important that we set the table in terms of the journey that's got us here, but then talk about the most recent developments that we're most excited about, namely the international opportunities. We continue to move forward in North America about getting our product into the North American markets, but things have really started to gain momentum on the international side. So we wanted to talk about that today. So maybe I'll start by just giving a brief history of ZenGUARD, how it came about, and then where we're going with it. So ZenGUARD was an antimicrobial coating that we developed during the pandemic. We wanted to create a product that could be utilized on personal protective equipment and HVAC filters that would provide enhanced protection for either the users of the personal protective equipment or for the patrons in buildings, homes, schools, etc. So we answered a call for proposals from the government of Canada, which was looking for enhanced indoor air quality solutions. And that's where ZenGUARD was born. We developed a compound that was 99.9% effective against the SARS-CoV-2 virus, but also against other bacteria, fungi, etc., that we had tested against. We then looked at putting it onto HVAC filters and were absolutely blown away by the results that we were able to achieve. We were able to improve viral filtration efficiency of existing HVAC filters by nearly 500%. So for a passive coating system, this was unprecedented in the market. Now, there were some conditions that the government of Canada required that we needed to meet in order to be successful in this challenge, including it had to be efficacious, i.e. reduce pathogens, it had to be safe, and it couldn't have additional energy requirements associated with it. We were successful in all three, and this really launched the ZenGUARD as we know it today. But more excitingly for us is immediate opportunities that we have internationally to take ZenGUARD into jurisdictions outside of North America. Now, I will just say that there was a process. We started looking at international expansion probably 12 to 18 months ago, and there really is no single pathway to getting into international markets. Each jurisdiction has its own pathway, from having to have a registered agent within a specific country to some countries required you to be incorporated in that country, some required domestic manufacturing capabilities, and we just didn't have that infrastructure in place to be able to deliver into those markets. However, due to the great work that Ryan and his team have done over the last year, we've been able to tick a number of those boxes and bring it to the point where we can actually start getting our product into those markets. So with that, I'd like to turn it over to Ryan, and Ryan can talk a little bit about our journey, where we're at, and why we're so excited about the coming quarters at Zentek. Ryan?
That's great. Thanks, Greg. I think that's a good backstory on the product and technology validation in Canada for the Canadian government. And with any innovation in the indoor air quality space, that's never the end of the story. The next step we took in terms of testing was tied to a very common question we got with our technology. What happens when dust gets on it? A very pertinent question. That's what these products are designed to do, is trap particulate. We conducted testing with LMS technologies in the US, and we actually found that over a 6-month period of dust loading, our technology actually improves over that 6 months period, which was very surprising to us. It's extremely encouraging and very valuable. With those very encouraging results, we actually began creating awareness with many different key opinion leaders, going to conferences, things like that, to start sharing what was pretty unique in the indoor air quality space and air filter space. One of those key opinion leaders we actually met at ASHRAE, which is the American Society of Heating, Refrigeration, and Air Conditioning Engineers, very influential organization in the indoor air quality space. The contact we made there, her name was Kathleen Owen. I could go on about Kathleen's track record, but I actually got an email today for a webinar from NAFA, and they characterize her as the ASHRAE rock star. So I could go on and tell you more about her, but I think that really tells a story about who she is and how well regarded she is in the industry. We actually worked very closely with her following our attendance at the ASHRAE conference in Chicago this past February. We worked with her to produce a 3-page abstract on our technology and how it improves indoor air quality without pressure drop, and under dust loading conditions actually improves. So basically putting that together with our team, with Kathleen, we submitted that to ASHRAE. It was accepted, and we then presented that at the ASHRAE conference in Indianapolis this past June. So bridging it back to the international opportunity that Greg alluded to before, that presentation and that abstract with Kathleen was really a launching pad for us, and really an inflection point where we really started to get a lot of inbound interest, particularly from international partners who really have carbon emissions and indoor air quality top of mind. So as Greg mentioned, we've been, sorry, were you going to jump in there, Greg?
I was just going to highlight, Ryan, in our press release that we had out announcing the closing of our private placement, I alluded to entities and their sustainability objectives. And this is where I was leading with that comment, was based on what we had been hearing from these international groups as they started reaching out to us, and how important sustainability, whether that be the reduction in their carbon footprint or a part of the circular economy, the reduction in waste, and our filters and our technology achieve both of those. So that's what was a little surprising to us, was how important that was, because it's not as such a priority issue or item here in North America, but internationally it is. So I just wanted to highlight that as you touched on that, Ryan. It's a really, really important point.
Yeah, and just to piggyback on that a little bit, what's really interesting and engaging about our technology is it's one of the only things out there that brings an indoor air quality solution that is also green and environmentally friendly in terms of not relying on increased carbon emissions. So it's really that marriage of those two properties that's really driving interest. So what are we doing? We're looking internationally. We're doing our research. We're looking at the product registration environment in a lot of these countries. And surprisingly, as it turns out, many of these international markets, they've got a very different product registration process than what we have here in North America. And a lot of it is less onerous. So in many cases, an ISO testing report, a UL product certification, and ASHRAE testing, all things that we've successfully done, are what you need to get into some of these markets. And also, as Greg mentioned before, it's important to have a presence in those markets, not just from a logistics and cost standpoint, but you need to have a presence there from a product registration standpoint as well. So that's what we're working on now in other countries around the world. Where can we get to quickly with the product testing that we have while we're going through our review process in Canada? And who are the right partners for us to work with? Who's got the best reach? Who's got the sales staff in those markets that we can work with to get our really unique and strong value proposition to those who can benefit from it most?
That's great, Ryan. Thank you for that. And I think I would add to it, it's actually, I am really surprised at how quickly this has gained traction. once we had the requisite tools in place, the things you've just alluded to being ISO certification, UL certification, but also partners that now have worked with our material, tested our material, and are comfortable with it. You need to understand the HVAC market and the filtration market. It's a market where, you know, there's a few very large players, and they have penetration into those markets already. And to come along with something that is such a disruptive technology like ZenGUARD is, there was a lot of skepticism, and there was a lot of testing and a lot of work that had to go on at their own labs before they got to the point where they were comfortable with what we had. We're now at that point. We are now working on relationships from manufacturers to distributors to end customers. And again, I can't highlight enough how exciting the international opportunity is. And we will be having a lot more news on these international opportunities in the coming weeks and months. But I think this is a great place to end it, Ryan. I don't know if you wanted to add anything else here before we close off, but I think this is a great update for our stakeholders to understand what we've been doing, why we've taken the path we have, but now we're about to see this come to fruition.
Oh, this is great. I look forward to digging in deeper with our stakeholders in the future. And yeah, with that, I think we're good.
Thanks, Ryan. So I appreciate it. And thank you, everybody, for joining us today for our first episode of Zentalk. There will be a lot more content coming in this on this channel. Please subscribe below so that you will be the first to know when new content is available. And we look forward to bringing you more updates on Zentek as we progress on our journey.